to life. When we are unprepared, we only survive in life. In every sphere of life, we need to do some preparation. We have begun and have started on this journey of spiritualism. There is no syllabus here. There is no end here. This is a journey, endless journey. It goes on. It does not matter how much we learn, but it does matter how much do we change. That is more important. Even if we learn only one aspect and change, that would be our success. Spiritualism is a journey where we must have a direction, we must know the route, and we must know the speed. Are we willing to melt and remold ourselves? Because we have a certain mold. Are we willing to melt and remold ourselves? And the word melt over here is of importance. This is an acronym. M stands for Mumukshu. This is a Sanskrit word which literally means desirous of liberation. One who is desirous of liberation. Everyone over here on the screen would have different results in life. Now that would depend what kind of personality are you. If you are a thought leader, your take would be different from this class. If you are a lover of philosophy, it will be different. And if you are a seeker, and within the seeker also there could be various categories. You could just be a jigyasu, just you are inquisitive. You want to know what is spiritualism. I mean, some people have that inquisitiveness. So that is the lowest level of spiritual seeker. And amongst the spiritual seeker, there are many categories. The minimum we should be that we are mumukshu. We are desirous of liberation. If you have taken admission in a college, your objective is that you should come out of the college with flying colors. So similarly, when we walk this path, the objective is to achieve something, not to acquire knowledge. Just acquiring knowledge is not your objective. That would make you jigyasu. Just you are inquisitive. You want to know what is spiritualism. You want to know what is karma. You want to know what is soul. Very nice. But then that's not the whole purpose of this class. That's why I'm trying to set a preamble, because we will have this class every Sunday, barring some unforeseen circumstances. Now, once we have made up that decision, so we must know what is the base. So I'm trying to set up a preamble for all the future classes. So we must be in the right set of mind. We must be here for a right objective. We must be walking on the right path, right direction. Now, when we speak about melt, coming back to melt, so the first point was mumukshu. So, are you a mumukshu? are you willing to be liberated? Even there are, seekers who are even higher than this, but this is a minimum. Whether you get liberated or not is a different thing. But are you desirous of getting liberation or not is a question. You may not be liberated. Liberation is something massive, and it may not be an easy journey. But the question is, are we desirous of liberation or not? So the journey begins from there. Secondly, any spiritual trip, any spiritual journey, you have to drop your ego. So M-E is ego. You have to drop your ego. Otherwise, what happens is, whatever I speak, you will start analyzing. Whatever I speak, you will start making a judgment on it. So you have to drop your ego. It will be good if you drop it throughout, or at least for this 1 hour. Because you are not listening for the purpose of just asking something or just for the purpose of showing something. No, you're listening to transform. The idea is to transform. So I'll be very happy and successful if at least one person in the whole group gets transformed. That's the whole purpose. And the transformation may not be visible to others. The transformation is only for you to know and assess. Others may not understand at all how spiritual you are, because this is an internal journey. This is not an external journey. You are not going to Vatican, or you're not going to Jerusalem or to Haridwar. You are not going anywhere. You are going inward. You are going inward. The journey is inward. The whole journey of spiritualism is going inward. The third point is logic. You have to drop the logic. No logic. In spiritualism, if you bring in logic, the whole objective would flop. Can anybody tell me what is the opposite of logic? Yes, Amar?
Belief.
Belief.
Faith.
Faith. Okay. Sorry?
Trust.
Trust. Okay. Okay. No, not so bad. Answers are quite nice. See, logic is a matter of mind. When we talk about logic, we refer to our mind. And it's a product of mind. The opposite of logic. If you write this in exam, probably you won't get marks for it. But in spiritual field, yes, the opposite of logic will be love. Though it's a wrong answer if you write it in your exams. But it's the right answer. If you speak to a spiritual master, then this is the right answer. So, product of mind is logic, and product of heart is love. So, opposite of logic would be love in the matters of spiritualism. You don't operate from head in the matters of spiritualism. You don't operate. If you operate from head, always there will be analysis paralysis. Always you will be analyzing, which will not reach you anywhere. How many of you, so we have spoken about M-E-L-T. M is mumukshu, E is ego, L is logic. So we, yes.
Is heart controlling the mind, or mind controls the heart?
See, the journey is, they are both independent. They are both independent. You can operate it the way you want to do it. You can, normally women operate through heart and men operate through head, normally. Okay. So, and the journey of spiritualism is journey from head to heart. This is only 1 feet, but coming to this 1 feet might take 50 years. This journey is very difficult. From head to heart, this journey is very, very difficult, this 1 feet. Now, as we go along, we will realize that there is something more than head and heart. Very soon we'll discover that. Now, the fourth point we were talking about, MELT. You've seen a baby monkey and a baby tiger. You've seen a baby monkey and a baby tiger. They both have a different approach in life. They both have a different approach in life. If you have seen a baby monkey, he's always holding on to his mom. Always. He's always with his mom. He doesn't leave his mom. He's always, clinging on to his mother. And the opposite of that is baby tiger, where the mother is always clinging on to the baby. The baby is independent. He doesn't want, but the mother is clinging on to the baby. So the journey of spiritualism over here, when we speak about melt, the fourth point is you have to be like a baby tiger. You are independent. So these 4 points, if you have these 4 points, if you have established these 4 points, or we try to establish it in the course of time, then yes, we'll become more successful spiritual seeker. The path of spiritualism will become more meaningful, more attainable, more objective driven. We'll come to it that what is the objective also. We'll come to it in different classes. Now, like in my previous class, I was I thought I was in very big hurry. But now I thought, what is the hurry? So it's a river, let it flow. So these 4 points, keep it in mind. And about ego, of all the points, you may be able to manage, you may be desirous of getting liberation, you will become mumukshu. You may drop your logic, you may be like a baby tiger. But then, what is the most difficult of the 4 is the ego. You won't even know that your ego is operating through you. Ego is very subtle. Ego is so subtle, you don't even know. As they say in the Greek saying, he knows not and knows not that he knows not is a fool. So you don't even know that you are stung by ego. A seeker went to Bhagwan Buddha and said, I want happiness. Bhagwan Buddha said, remove I. I is your ego. Remove want. Want represents your desire. Whatever is left is happiness. So, the easiest route to happiness is when you drop ego. There is one misconception in the spiritual world that if you are a sadhak, if you are a seeker, then you have nothing to do with this human body. And if I ask you what is the most important part in this human body, what would you answer? Can anybody answer? What is the most important? The head. Yeah, Gopal is showing the mind, head. And this answer is, most of the people would answer similar way, head. Because in all our life we have studied, and it was a left brain study. So your mind has become stronger, 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 richer, richer, richer. So your personality is disproportionate. If I ask you, you see a plant in a garden, you see a plant. So what is the most important thing in a plant? Now, Gopal, the onus is on you to answer.
Roots.
Roots. So, roots. Okay. So in human it is mind, and in plant it is roots.
Human, we don't have roots in that sense, in that sense of the word.
Okay. Mind is like a flower. It is a flower of knowledge. And if somebody says, I heard somebody saying that no, the most important aspect in body is heart. So heart is flower of love. So if you see a plant, when it has flowers, so if the flowers are not important, there the roots are important. So in human, you are saying the mind is important. So similarly, then the flower should have been important. If you take care of flower, the plant may not survive. The plant may not survive. If you just take care of the flower, you have to take care of the roots. And roots are not visible. And roots are in the earth. Similarly, take the same analogy on the human body. What is visible is the mind. The whole attempt is to enrich the mind, to control the mind, to beautify the mind or the heart. So in spiritualism, the most important thing is not your mind. In a spiritual journey, first of all, we take a trip from mind to heart. As I said, this is 1 feet distance, and which takes few lifetimes or probably 40, 50 years. But then still, you're not ready for spiritualism even with that. Because heart is not the root. You have to enrich the roots. If the roots die, the plant would die. The flower would die. How do you manage the flower? You cannot manage the flower. You have to go to the roots. You have to go to the roots. And if the roots are enriched, the flowers, more flowers will be blooming. Similarly, in the case of human body, from mind to heart, you reached. Now, the most important, when a baby is born, when he is conceived in mother's womb, which is the first organ which is created?
Mind.
Mind, no. Sorry,
Spine.
what is it? Spine. You see, the child is connected through the navel, with the mother's navel. So the child is connected with navel. So that portion is first created. So life originates at that point. Life starts at that point. In the earlier days, in the first few days and months, there is no mind, there is no heart. First of all, when the doctor says the lady has a child, there is no mind, there is no heart over there. There is only that navel. Now the journey begins from there. So the most important aspect in a human body is your navel. It is not your mind. It is not your heart. Now, why navel? We'll come to it. Because roots are equivalent to navel. But where is roots? Roots are in the earth. So navel is in the Soul. Navel. So if you don't take care of the soul, what will happen to mind? Mind is like a flower. It's a flower. You cannot beautify the flower without taking care of the soul. So when we talk about spiritualism, it is enriching your soul. It is a journey towards soul. From mind to heart, heart to navel, navel to soul. So if this is the route we take, then we are on the right side. We are on the correct path. So this is the journey of spiritualism. When we talk about self-realization, that is a journey towards soul. I'll repeat this aspect again and again. So from we are more into the head. We are more into logic. From logic, we come down. As you start the journey of spiritualism, then you start descending from here and then you come here. You are operating from heart. Then further you start, then you start descending and come to the navel. Then you further start moving, then you start going towards the soul. That is the roots. That is the earth, roots in the earth. Similarly, navel in the soul. Now, but you just cannot take care of soul. Like in certain spiritual circle, I have come across, and they say that we are not the body, which is a right statement. There is nothing wrong. I'm not the mind, I'm not the body, I'm the soul, which is perfectly fine, perfectly correct. I'm the soul. But the route to soul is through the body. You cannot ignore the body and cannot reach to soul. The journey to soul will end the day your body ends. The journey to soul ends. See, body, people in the East and people in the West have had different approaches towards body. Towards the West, they have abused the body. They take alcohol, they take drugs, they eat what they like, and they do what. So they have totally abused the body. So forget the journey of soul. The journey of soul will start from body. Now the starting point itself is corrupted. So where is the question of reaching at the last point? Now in the East, they have done too much of torture to body. If you are a yogi, so you're torturing your body in many ways. So you're on two extremes. You're like a pendulum. Either you're trying to keep it too fulfilled, or you're trying to, keep it too starved. But that's not the approach. If you see in a musical instrument like guitar, what happens is, if you tighten the wire too much, what happens? It will snap. When you play, it will snap. If you keep it loose, then what happens?
It won't play.
It won't play. There is no music in it. Life has the same rule. Your body, that music of life will not be there if you go into extremes. So you have to be into a balanced mode. You have to be somewhere in between. Then only this journey can start. We have spoken in some other occasion. There are two approaches. One is the monk's approach and one is the householder's approach. We are householder. Our journey of spiritualism is different than what is the journey of a monk. And sadly enough, all the articles, books are written by the monk. They have their own perspective, which is right. There is nothing wrong with that perspective. But that is not suitable for us because we are a householder. We live in this world. I have to do business also. I have to attend birthday parties also. I have to go for cinema also. I have to go for a wedding also. I have to be involved in everything in life. And also be an achiever in spiritualism. You cannot, you say no, you cannot tell at home, no, I am a spiritual seeker from today. I will not go to movie. No, tomorrow, no, I will not go for birthday party. Sorry, I will not go. I am a spiritual seeker. I will not eat fancy food. I will not, no, nothing of that sort. You will do everything. You will do everything. Because you are a householder. You will make money, you will keep money also, you will save money also, you will do everything. So some people have a misconception that no, I heard so-and-so monk, he said, you should not be indulging into the worldly activities. No, you can, you must, because you are a householder. There is a responsibility for you to run the family. Your path of spiritualism is different. As Vivekananda said, you spiritualize your work life. That is spiritualism for you. Whatever you do, see, there were 3 workers working on a project. So the senior manager came and asked the first worker, what are you doing? He said, I'm just cutting this stone. My boss asked me, I'm just cutting it. He said, very nice. All are getting the same wages, by the way. Huh? Now then he asked the second one, what are you doing? He said, I don't know, I'm just trying to make one pillar. I'm trying to do some carving and make a pillar. Same work they were all the 3 were doing. Went to the third one, what are you doing? He said, I'm doing the most important thing. I'm making the front pillar for the temple, which is going to be a very gorgeous temple. Now you see, there are 3 workers. They are doing the same work, but they have different vision in life. They are getting the same wages, but one is disconnected and one is connected. You can be doing the same work in your office. Whatever you are doing, you will be doing the same work. But your approach, your thought process, your style, your feelings, everything would change. This is very important. Keep asking me more, because you will go to office tomorrow also. You have been going to office every day. But tomorrow could be a different day. From tomorrow, everything could change. Till today, going to office was a worldly affair. But from tomorrow, going to office could be a spiritual affair. Now, this is a very important point. Spiritualism does not mean that you give up all worldly acts. This is wrong. As most of the people propagate like this, no, you should not indulge in this, you should not, no, you can indulge in everything. You be responsive to relationships. You will go to parties, you will go to birthday parties, you will go to cinema, you will go everywhere. You will take your children to zoo, you will go everywhere. But then, till yesterday, you were a worldly person, but from today you have become a spiritual person. Something has changed. Something has changed. Till yesterday, the Wi-Fi connection was different. From today, the Wi-Fi connection is different. The password is different. Till yesterday, the password was different. Now, that will make all the difference. As Vivekananda said, spiritualize your work life. Spiritualize. Everything you do is a spiritual act. You don't live life in compartments. This is worldly affair, this is spiritual affair, this is religious affair. No, there is no such thing. There is no such thing. Once, I remember a story, Radhakrishnan, our president of India, he had gone to England, or the Queen had come, something like that, they had gone. So the first lady, president's wife, also met the Queen. So the reporters asked her, ma'am, How did you prepare for the meeting? She said, what to prepare? No. The mannerism, the courtesy, the protocol. How did you prepare? She said, what is to prepare? This is how I meet everybody. There is nothing special to prepare. So only people like us will prepare. You will prepare yourself when you are meeting a VIP. But a spiritual person does not need to prepare. Whether he's meeting a sweeper or President of America, he'll meet in the same way. Your greetings will not change for a sweeper and for a President of America. Whether you're talking to your housemaid at home or whether you're talking to the boss's wife, your mannerism does not change if you're a spiritual person. And that is spirituality. You are a householder. Every act in your life, you have to spiritualize. If this is the crux of today's topic, what am I trying to? Because I'm trying to set a preamble for all the future classes. Objective is to change. You're learning courtesy classes, mannerism classes, protocol classes. For what? You have to meet every human being the same way. You have to treat every creature, every living creature the same way. Some creature I will cut and eat. Some I will call them my pets. Some creature I can cut and eat. And some creature I will make them my pet. That cannot happen. So the journey of spiritualism, as Vivekananda, I repeat this, spiritualize your whole life, your work life, your home life, the way you behave with anyone, the same way you behave with anybody else. If this is what we can understand and internalize, if we can change, I'm sure tomorrow will be a different day for you when you go to office. The same boy who helps you and serves you water, the boy who gives you a cup of tea, if you can give him the same manners, what you're giving to the most important person in your office, then you have spiritualized your life. If you look him with same respect, we talk all are equal, but then we have to put it in practice. Spiritualism begins with these small things. Anybody has a question before we move forward? I will go to my office. When my deputy says good morning, then only I will say morning. Now, what is that? That means that is your ego. Why should I say good morning first? He will tell me good morning and then I will respond to him. But to my boss, I will say good morning first, then he will respond to me. You are not here to correct others. You are here only to correct yourself.
Arunji, any book references for householders' approach to JOS? As you said, there are many books compiled by monks, so it's kind of a difficult approach.
You can follow Deepak Chopra.
The Oprah Winfrey mentor.
Oprah Winfrey mentor. He's a mentor to all Hollywood celebrities. He's by the way, a millionaire also. I'm putting a stress on this word, he's a millionaire also. If
Or he's a multi-millionaire.
if I am not successful, and the definition of the word is success is different for different people, of course. So that holistic definition of success, if I am not successful, how can I teach you the success sutras? If I teach you how to make money, Amar will very surely ask me, Arunji, how much money have you made in life that you're trying to teach us how to make money? And he's quite qualified to ask me that question. He's very qualified, yes. Because I'm also a householder. If I say this is the way to make money, then I have to first of all say that what qualifies me to speak on that topic. Have I made a lot of money? Yes, if I have. If Bill Gates comes and says how to be a billionaire, good enough. Nobody can question him. Nobody will ask him, hey, how did you go to college? Did you go to the... He's a dropout, of course, but nobody will question him because he has demonstrated that in his life. So you have to, whatever, if I talk about money, I have to, people can ask me and I have to answer that. I cannot say, no, I don't want to make money. Oh, I don't believe in making money. That cannot be my answer. That cannot be my answer. Anyway, when we discuss the topic of money, and if somebody asks me this question, then I'll answer you. So be inquisitive till then. I will not answer you today. The answer to this question, I will not give you today. I'll give it to you that day when we'll discuss the topic of money. And if somebody asks me that question. So this journey of spiritualism, I will become spiritual. No. You can never become spiritual. You have to become right now. Instantly. Either the transformation happens right now or it will never happen. That transformation should happen right now. The journey of spiritualism has begun. You're walking that path. You become very intellectual. You become very knowledgeable. That will not help you. That will not transform you. Application will transform you. Application. As I often repeat, information does not do the transformation. It is the application which does the transformation. More knowledge will make you more arrogant. More knowledge will make you more egoist. There are only a few people with more knowledge, they become more humble. And if you with more knowledge, if you become more humble, then yes, you are walking the right path. As in Sanskrit, they say, Vidya dadati vinayam. With knowledge comes that vinay, vinamrata. Humility comes with knowledge. Vidya dadati vinayam. So, from today, the journey has begun. Transformation has happened. It's not that I will next week, let me complete all my work. Once I am done with everything, then I will start walking the path and I will start changing. That will not happen. That will not happen. And there's nothing in the outer world which you have to do. The change has to be internal. The whole change is inside. So, once you become aware, once you know that, yes, in my behavior, in my attitude, in my thoughts, that reform has to be there. And you will be doing the same thing after this class, but your approach to same activity would change. You could be having dinner and that small act of gratefulness towards the domestic help will help. Try, test it with your ego. Can you say thank you? Can you say thank you? Something will stop you from inside. Break that, try to break it. Try to, somebody does something not to your liking. Can you hold on to your anger? So just try it out. And I'm very sure tomorrow morning when you go to office, you are a different person. You will be a different person, I'm very sure. There is nothing separately that you have to live a separate life of spiritualism. I'll go on the mountains, I will go to Himalayas, I will go there. No. You don't have to go anywhere. You can be spiritual right now, from now, till the point you die. You can lead a spiritual life. And everything what you are doing till today, you will be doing the same thing till from tomorrow. You are watching movies, you are eating food, you are having pizza, you go to dance party, whatever you are doing, keep doing. There's nothing. Everything is same. But the world has changed. You have changed from within. And you have resolved. You have resolved that you have changed. And if that has happened, then whatever classes we will have in the future will make a lot of meaning, lot of sense, lot of enjoyment, lot of fun it will give you. We are not here to enrich our knowledge. We are not here to learn and become, more knowledgeable, more arrogant. Our objective is not that. That's not our objective. Our objective is to become spiritual, walk the spiritual path. Everybody may have a different path altogether. You may be a footballer, I may be a businessman, he may be a consultant, he may be working in a beer bar. Doesn't matter. You can be very, very spiritual. Your activity does not. Amar, can you mute him? It's already 45 minutes. If keep asking questions, then we
what if
should
somebody is already following till now, whatever you let's say said, what if somebody is already following this?
Very nice. Then it's excellent. If somebody is already following, is already walking this path, being a householder and is already deeply rooted into these values, then excellent. Then the journey is even faster because he has already ascended to some extent. Then there is one more concept, let me tell you, because we will discuss what is the ultimate journey. We know ultimate journey is liberation. For some people, it is even not liberation, it is something different. So we'll come to it. Now, what is the intermediate journey? Because when ultimate journey is, you may attain in this lifetime or maybe in different lifetime or maybe after 100 lifetimes, you don't know. Now, there is something called, there is a concept called Sthit Pragya. Sthit Pragya is a concept given by Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, from slok 54 to 72. This aspect of Sthit Pragya has been explained. Pragya means wisdom. We all know Sthit. So one who's steady in, one who's settled in wisdom. One who's settled in wisdom. Sthit Pragya. Sthit Pragya, certain authors also say, means enlightened. So which is okay, there is nothing. Self-realized. So Sthit Pragya also means self-realized, one who's settled in his wisdom, one who's... Now, what are the qualities of Sthit Pragya? So during the journey of spiritualism, we have to cross this bridge of Sthit Pragya. Now, what is Sthit Pragya? We have understood the definition. Now, Sri Krishna talks about qualities. There are many qualities of Sthit Pragya because there are about 18 sloks. 18 sloks. Every slok has certain qualities. So I have listed out a few qualities which I will tell you. So he says the first quality is Prajahati Yada Kaman, which is devoid of all desires. So desirelessness. So Krishna says, before this, Arjuna asks Krishna that how does a self-realized person or a sthit pragya looks like? How does he walk? How does he talk? How does he speak? So please tell me, Krishna, how does he talk? How does he walk? How does he eat? Like when we talk about President of America, so we are also very curious. Oh, how does he walk? How does he talk? How does he eat? All that. So similarly, Arjun is also very curious that Krishna, tell me what is this? And then Krishna is replying. And then when he's replying in the first sloka, he's talking about Prajahati Yada Kaman, which means no desire, desirelessness, devoid of all desires. The richest person is not one who has everything in this world. The richest person is one who does not need anything from this world. So desirelessness. Krishna says this is the first quality. When you're talking about this स्थित प्रज्ञा, उसको वो कर दो ना, साइलेंट कर दो.
Yeah.
So this is the first quality, that you are devoid of all desires, desirelessness. Then the second quality he talks about, dukkheshu anidvigna mana, undisturbed in sorrow and miseries. One who's undisturbed. So people who walk the path of spiritualism, they always have this separation of body from soul. Body and soul, so they say the pain is to the body, the fever is to the body, hunger is to the body, not to me. I am not hungry, my body is hungry. There is a pain in my body has fever. So body needs treatment. Some of you can try this practical tip. If you have a headache someday, try this out. Don't say, I have a headache. Don't say, first of all, don't relate it with yourself. Because I means something else. So I have a headache. You just say that you disassociate with that headache. If there is a pain in the hand, you disassociate. This hand has pain. You don't say, my hand is paining. Change your affirmation, change your sentence. This hand has pain. The moment you disassociate, the pain would lessen. Try it out. As this Ramakrishna Paramhans would always say, Ram ko bhook lagi hai. Ram is hungry. His name was Ramakrishna Paramhans. He would never say, I am hungry. राम को भूख लगी है, राम को नींद आ रही है. So you see, the way you speak has a lot of impact on your spiritual aspect. So second aspect was undisturbed in sorrow and miseries. Dukkheshu anudvigna mana. Then sukhesu vigat spriha. Now what does this mean? Devoid of craving for pleasure. You're not looking for pleasure in life. You're not disturbed by pains and problems, and you're not looking for pleasures. So pain and problem, no to it, and for pleasure, you're not craving for it. You're not dying to get pleasure. Kunti in Mahabharata said at one place that I only want pains in life. I only want problems in life. Because whenever I have pains and problems, I remember Krishna. I only remember Krishna when I'm in pain and problem. Otherwise, I don't remember it. So she's asking to God that please bless me with pains and problems in life. So you see the mindset of a seeker. Sukheshu Vigataspriya. Now, the fourth aspect which Krishna talks about, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodha, free from attachment, fear, and anger. Free from attachment, fear, and anger. So if you are an enlightened person, you are free from attachment, fear, and anger. Then the fifth quality which he talks about, there are many others, but I have listed a few. So the fifth quality he says, Yah Sarvatra Anabhi Sneha, unattached with all circumstances. This person is not attached with anything. The world is going this way, very nice. Going this way, very nice. Something is happening, very good. Something is not happening, still good. So he's not attached to anything. He's not attached with the outcome. Then the sixth quality he talks about, na abhinandati, na dvesti. Neither delighted in fortune, nor dejected in tribulation. If something good happens to you, you don't become very happy about it. Oh, I've struck a lottery, and you start jumping and start throwing party. You don't do that. It's okay. I got lottery, very nice, very good. Second day, you lost your mobile phone. It's okay. I lost. You lost. So you are not affected by, you're not delighted in fortune or not dejected in tribulation. So this is the sixth quality which Krishna talks about. You see, if there is happiness in life, there will be sadness in life. Happiness is the higher point, so there will be a lower point in life. If there is night, there will be morning. If there is darkness, there will be light. If there is happiness, there will be sadness. Because everything in the world is in pairs. You have to have. So, but there is another condition where there is no happiness. An enlightened person is in a state of bliss. Anand, the word is Anand. Anand and happiness are two separate words. Happiness is not same as bliss. Bliss is neither happiness nor sadness. In the state of bliss, you're happy without a reason. There is no reason. When you're happy with the reason, then you're a worldly person. Because you got promotion, you're happy. Because this happened, you're happy. Because this happened, you're sad. So whenever there is because, unconditionally, you're happy. Every time you're smiling. Every time you're smiling. Your neighbors might think that this fellow has gone cracked. Something is wrong. All the time this fellow is smiling. Whenever I see him in the lift also, he's smiling. So people might think you like that. But that is the state of bliss. You don't need a reason to smile. You don't need a reason. If you need a reason to smile, then you are stuck into worldly affairs. A spiritual person will smile all throughout. People will call him, he's mad, he's cracked. So take that as a compliment for yourself. If people say you're mad, you're cracked, take that as a compliment. Oh, very nice, very good, thank you. I've ascended. When people say you're very nice, very intelligent, very wise, then take that your spiritual journey has not yet begun. You're yet to start. People called Kalidas a fool. Tulsidas, they said he is a fool. People said Meera has become lunatic. That is what people said, that she has become lunatic. Meera Divani ho gayi. So when you ascend in spiritualism, when you walk the path of spiritualism, when you're getting closer to God, when you have that nearness to God, people will say that you are lunatic. And take that as a compliment. In wiseness, it's very difficult to achieve anything spiritual. Okay, seventh quality which he talks about. Where is seven? Okay. Jitatmanah, conqueror of mind. Conqueror of mind. Mind can be your best friend. Mind can be your worst enemy. Mind can be your best friend. Mind can be your worst enemy. If mind is your boss, you are in trouble. If you are the boss of mind, you will run your life very smoothly. So if mind, don't be under the control of mind. If mind rules you, as we spoke in the previous class, Hemaji, you remember the word we spoke about for this? What was that? So I do what I feel like doing. Manamauji.
Yes.
So don't be ruled by mind. You manage mind. Conqueror of mind. So this is the another quality. Then he said, Prashantasya, tranquility over self-control. That feeling of peace because you are in self-control. You are in self-control. There is a story when Alexander looted everything in India. He was going back. He was going back. So some of his friends had told him that the most famous thing in India is the monks of India. So you bring 2-3 samples here. In our country, we don't have monks. So you bring few monks from India. So while he was going back, he remembered this. He said, oh my God, I have looted gold, diamond, everything I have taken from this country. Oh, the few monks I must also carry with me. So he sent his deputy and he said, go and pick up few monks and we tell them that they'll go with us. And they will get a good life. So they went and he saw one monk sitting under a tree. So he asked him that, come, Alexander has called you. He said, tell Alexander to go to hell. I'm not going to hell. So he said, you know, he's the king of the world and this is how you say? He said, yeah, this is how I talk. This is how I say. You go and tell Alexander, I'm not interested in this offer. I don't want a good life. I don't want to go anywhere. I'll live here. So he said, you know, Alexander can kill you also. He said, doesn't matter. That is least of the worry for me. So he said, even if he kills me, I'm in that state of consciousness where I'll be seeing like killing. I have to die one day. So why not I die this way? So it doesn't matter. I will not. So this person does not need to go somewhere to be happy, does not need to be in the company of somebody to be happy, does not need a king's company to be happy. He's happy by himself. That's it. Without a reason, he's happy. He's enjoying. He went to Alexander and told him, narrated the story. The so and so, there's a person. So Alexander said, truly, my friends were saying that the monks in India are really something amazing. So this is one quality, Prashantasya. Then another quality he said, Nispriya Nirmam Nirahankar, free from hankering, free from ownership, free from egotism. You don't want to own anything. I want this. No, nothing to own. You live this life like a tenant, not like an owner. So no craving for anything, no ownership, no egotism. Then Krishna says, Shantim Adhigachati, abiding in perfect peace. This person is settled in perfect peace. Nothing can disturb him. He's centered. We'll come to the word centered later on, maybe in the next class. And the last quality, there are many other qualities, but this last quality which I have captured, Brahmi Sthiti, in the state of God realization. And to me, this is the most important quality. You are in the state of God realization. Because if you are in the state of God realization, then all the other qualities are easier to achieve. So this is the intermediate intermediary situation when you are walking the path of spiritualism. Ultimate aim is something else. But this is the path. You have to drop your ego, you have to drop your desires, you have to drop your expectations, you have to drop your cravings, all this. And you have to be, happy with yourself. What is the difference between loneliness and aloneness? Can somebody tell me? What is the difference between loneliness is a negative word. Oh, I'm so lonely, nothing. This Sundays, Sundays are so boring. I don't know what to do. So lonely. So I thought might as well go there and talk. So that is loneliness. And aloneness is you enjoy being alone. So in loneliness, if you're alone, you're uncomfortable. But aloneness is, so in the journey of spiritualism, you convert everything negative into positive. So till today you are feeling lonely. From tomorrow you will feel alone, aloneness. Now aloneness is very important for spiritual growth, because sometimes even if you are in a crowd, you can be alone. Now that is a spiritual quality. You go to a birthday party, you're enjoying, you're dancing, but still you're alone. You're alone. Now that aloneness is a spiritual quality. You may go to movie, you're enjoying the movie, you're going to a party, but that aloneness is there. That is a positive quality. That's a spiritual quality. Aloneness, when you keep increasing the aloneness, that becomes meditation. What do you do in meditation? Aloneness only. You're expanding that. You're alone. You're going inward. That becomes meditation. So the starting point of meditation is aloneness. And starting point of depression is loneliness. It's the same thing, same situation. Tomorrow morning you will be alone. Till today you are feeling lonely. From tomorrow, don't feel lonely. Feel alone. Try to be alone. Even in the crowd, you are alone. That's a positive quality. That's a spiritual quality. And being lonely is a worldly quality. So everything remains same. Nothing. Everything. Your routine is same. Your food is same. Your people around are same. Your office. Everything is same. But you are a changed person from today. You will get angry if you want to get angry. Nobody can make you angry. Sometimes anger is required. It's a management tool. But then don't get angry genuinely. Get angry. A fake anger is very good. As a management tool, it's a very good tool. Sometimes you have to get angry over your employees, but that fake anger, then it becomes even more powerful tool. If you are genuinely angry, then you lose control over on whom you are getting angry. Then you lose control of the situation. So if you want to be on top of the situation, then you be angry, but fake your anger. So the whole purpose of today's class is that we are starting a new journey. In classes to come, we'll go deeper. So today was just a preamble